All right, so we're diving deep into Ikigai today, this Japanese idea for a long and happy life.
Yeah, it's really captured people's imagination.
And we've got the book right here, Ikigai, the Japanese secret to a long and happy life.
It goes way beyond the usual, like, find your passion stuff.
Exactly. And what really got me interested is this idea that it can actually help you live longer.
Longer and happier, yeah.
Right. Is there something more to that than just, feeling good?
Well, the authors didn't just make this up. They actually went to Okinawa, this island in Japan.
Okay.
And they have a crazy number of people living past 100 there.
Wow.
Centenarians, yeah. And it's not just their genes or what they eat, although those things matter.
Sure.
It's that a lot of them seem to have a really strong sense of Ikigai.
So Okinawa, the land of centenarians and Ikigai, right?
You could say that.
I'm still a little skeptical. Is having a purpose really like a magic potion for a long life?
It's not magic, but it's powerful. And to understand it, we got to see what these Okinawans actually do differently.
All right, lay it on me. What are their secrets?
Well, first off, their social connections are rock solid. They have these groups called moai.
Moai. Okay.
It's like a built-in support network for life. Emotionally, practically, they've got each other's backs.
I can see how that would make a difference. Like, I've read that loneliness can be really bad for you. Almost like smoking, actually.
It's a serious health risk.
So having close friends, family, that's got to help, right?
Huge part of it.
But what about their daily lives? Do they all have, like, amazing dream jobs or something?
Not really. It wasn't about some big career thing. It was more about, like, a way of living. Take hara hachibu, for instance.
Hara hachibu, what's that?
It means eating until you're about 80% full.
Oh, interesting. So not stuffing themselves.
Right. More mindful about it. Might seem like a small thing, but over a lifetime.
Adds up.
Definitely.
I'm sensing a theme here. Like they were all about moderation, being aware.
Yeah.
Did they all go to the gym religiously too, or what?
Actually, no. They were more about gentle movement, gardening, walking, maybe some traditional martial arts. The idea is to stay active, but not overdo it.
So it's more about longevity. Makes sense, especially as we get older.
Exactly.
I'm starting to like this picture. Myself tending a peaceful garden someday.
Yeah. Sounds nice.
But okay, all this sounds great in theory, but our lives are so hectic. How do we actually apply these ideas?
That's where understanding flow becomes really important.
Okay, flow.
Remember, Ikigai is about finding that place where your passions, your skills, and what the world needs all come together.
Right, right.
And when you're doing something that hits all those points, you're more likely to experience flow. That feeling of being totally absorbed in what you're doing.
The flow state. I know what you mean, but it's always felt kind of accidental for me,
Right.
Is there a way to do it on purpose?
Definitely. For starters, gotta pick activities that challenge you just enough, but not too much.
Not too easy, not too hard.
Exactly. Like Goldilocks.
Find the just right challenge. Okay, makes sense. What else helps?
Cutting out distractions. Seriously, it's huge. Think about it with all the notifications and interruptions. How can you ever really focus?
So put away the phone, find a quiet space.
Exactly.
Got it. But look, we can't live in a bubble of perfect flow all the time. What about the rest of life? The day-to-day stuff.
That's where finding joy in small things comes in. Ikigai isn't just about these big goals.
Yeah.
It's about appreciating those little moments that we usually overlook.
Like that first sip of coffee in the morning.
Right.
Or a good laugh with friends.
Exactly. Little doses of happiness.
I like that. So how do we get better at noticing those moments?
Mindfulness and gratitude. It's about being present, actively looking for the good things, no matter how small.
A gratitude journal, maybe?
That can be really powerful, yeah.
Okay, I see how shifting your perspective like that could make a big difference. But what about when things get tough? Like, how does Ikigai deal with the idea of retirement, for example?
It's interesting because the way we think of retirement in the West, like stopping work completely, that's not really a thing in Japanese culture. They encourage people to stay active, engage their whole lives.
So it's less about an ending and more about a new chapter.
Yeah, and it makes a difference. Having a reason to get up each morning, it keeps you going, physically and mentally.
Makes sense, yeah. That feeling of purpose, that's going to be a key part of this whole longevity thing.
Big time.
But we all know life throws curveballs. How does Ikigai help us deal with challenges, setbacks, all that?
By building resilience. It's about being able to adapt, to bounce back from tough situations.
Right.
And it's about facing those challenges head on with a positive attitude, focusing on solutions.
So developing that inner strength, that flexibility.
Exactly. It's about focusing on what you can control instead of getting stuck on what you can't.
That's a great point. Okay,
Right.
reclaiming our power, taking action. But what about those times when letting go is the only choice?
That's where Ikigai draws inspiration from this Japanese concept of wabi-sabi.
Wabi-sabi, what's that?
It's a philosophy, an aesthetic that finds beauty in imperfection, in things being fleeting, temporary.
Okay, I'm listening.
It's about appreciating that things change, that nothing lasts forever.
So finding peace in the fact that things come and go, that's deep.
It is, and it's connected to this idea of living simply, decluttering, both physically and mentally.
Decluttering. Yeah, I can see how that would tie in.
We can get into that more later, but for now, let's talk about taking care of our physical selves.
Yeah, that's got to be important for a long and happy life.
Yeah.
What does Ikigai say about staying healthy?
It emphasizes a balanced diet, choosing whole foods, fruits, vegetables, whole grains.
So no crazy diets, just eating real food.
Pretty much. It's about nourishing your body from the inside out.
Okay, I like it. Any specific recommendations?
Well, staying hydrated is key, and they talk a lot about the benefits of green tea.
Green tea. Good stuff. What about exercise? Anything specific there?
It's more about finding something you enjoy and doing it regularly. Yoga, tai chi, walking, just moving your body.
So consistency over intensity.
Yeah. It's about finding a sustainable way to stay active throughout your life.
I can get behind that. So it's like Ikigai takes a holistic approach to well-being, right?
Absolutely. It's all connected: mind, body, spirit.
I'm really starting to see how all these pieces fit together.
It's a pretty amazing philosophy.
It is. But I'm curious, what about the role of rituals? Where do those fit in?
Rituals are a big part of Ikigai. They help us bring structure, mindfulness into our days.
So like having a morning routine or a gratitude practice at night.
Exactly. It's about creating those moments of intention.
I can see how that would make a difference. Any other examples?
They talk about things like tea ceremonies, which really embody that mindfulness and connection.
Tea ceremonies. Yeah, they're so fascinating. And speaking of connection, what about our connection with nature? Where does that fit into Ikigai?
That's a core part of it. They highlight this Japanese practice called Shinrin-yoku, which means forest bathing.
Forest bathing. I love that. What exactly is it?
Basically, it's just spending time in nature, immersing yourself in the sights, sounds, the whole experience.
So just being present in nature, soaking it all in.
Yeah, it can be really powerful.
I can imagine. But Ikigai is not just about peace and quiet, right? It's also about learning and growing throughout life.
That's right. Lifelong learning is a big part of it. They believe that staying curious, trying new things, it keeps life interesting.
So that growth mindset, always learning something new.
Exactly.
Okay, got to stay curious. But what about the social side of things? You mentioned strong social connections being important. How do we cultivate that kind of community?
It starts with prioritizing those relationships, making time for loved ones, being there for each other.
So being present, supportive.
Yeah, and it's about finding your tribe, those people who share your interests, who inspire you.
I like that, finding your tribe.
Yeah.
But I want to circle back to this idea of impermanence, mono no aware.
It's a powerful concept.
It is, but it's also kind of hard to wrap your head around,
Yeah.
especially when you're dealing with loss,
It's about accepting that change is a natural part of life. We can't control everything.
So learning to let go, to go with the flow.
Yeah, it's not easy, but it's a practice. When things are tough, allow yourself to feel those emotions.
Okay.
Don't judge yourself. Lean on your support system. Remember that healing takes time.
That's good advice. It's about acknowledging the pain, but also recognizing that life goes on.
Exactly.
All right, so we've covered a lot of ground here. Any final thoughts before we move on?
Just remember, finding your Ikigai is a journey, not a destination. It's about self-discovery, exploration. Be patient with yourself. Enjoy the process.
I love that. Enjoy the process. All right, we'll be back in a bit with part 2, where we'll dive into some practical ways to apply all this Ikigai wisdom to your own life, so stay tuned. All right, so we've talked about Okinawa, wabi-sabi, all these fascinating ideas.
Yeah, a lot to unpack.
But now, let's get practical.
Yeah.
How does our listener actually use this Ikigai stuff in their life? Where do we even start?
It all begins with looking inward, some serious self-reflection.
Okay, so like soul searching.
Exactly. Ask yourself, what truly gives your life meaning? What are you doing when you completely lose track of time?
Interesting. What kind of impact do I want to have on the world, all that?
Those are the big questions.
Okay, let's say I've done that. I've got my list of passions, now what?
Then look for ways to weave those passions into your daily life, even if it's just small actions at first.
Oh.
Say you love writing. Maybe you spend 15 minutes a day journaling or working on a story.
Makes sense. Small steps,
Well,
consistency.
exactly. And if you're passionate about a cause, maybe volunteer your skills once a week.
I like that. Small actions, adding up over time.
That's the idea.
But how do we stay motivated, especially when things get tough? Life has a way of throwing wrenches into our plans.
That's where gratitude comes in, seriously. Might sound cheesy, but it works.
Okay, gratitude.
When you focus on what you have, even when things are hard, it shifts your whole perspective.
I've heard about gratitude journals. Do those actually help?
They can, yeah. It's like a mental reset button.
Interesting. But what about finding that balance between all the different parts of Ikigai? You know, the passion, the mission, the job, the vocation.
Think of it like a Venn diagram.
Okay, a Venn diagram.
Spend some time with each element, see where they overlap. Maybe your passions align with a need in the world or a possible career path.
So looking for those sweet spots where everything kind of comes together.
Exactly.
All right, that makes sense. But what about this idea of simplicity? Minimalism, we touched on that earlier. How does that actually work in real life?
It starts with your physical space. Declutter your home. Get rid of anything you don't use or need.
Okay, decluttering, I can get behind that.
It frees up so much mental space you wouldn't believe it.
I bet. But how about decluttering our minds? There's so much information overload these days.
Be mindful of what you're letting in. Cut down on negative news, social media, doom scrolling.
Oh, the doom scrolling?
Find content that inspires you, educates you, things that lift you up.
It's like a mental diet, right?
Yeah.
Filtering out the junk food. Got to nourish those brain cells.
Mm.
Speaking of nourishment, what about food, exercise? What are the concrete steps for healthy living Ikigai style?
Focus on those whole, unprocessed foods we talked about. Fruits, veggies, whole grains.
Gotcha. Real food, good stuff.
Limit the processed junk, sugary drinks, too much caffeine.
Makes sense.
And stay hydrated. Water is key. They also talk a lot about green tea in the book.
Green tea, yeah, I'm on board with that. What about moving our bodies? Do I need a gym membership?
It's not about that. It's about finding something you enjoy, something you can do consistently.
Okay.
Could be yoga, a walk in the park, even just taking the stairs more often.
So being more active in general, not necessarily intense workouts.
Exactly. Find what works for you.
But realistically, how do we make those healthy habits stick? Life gets crazy, we get stressed, short on time.
This is where rituals become super helpful.
Rituals, okay. Give me an example.
A morning routine can set you up for success. Maybe you meditate, stretch, write in a journal.
I like that, starting the day with intention.
And in the evening, a gratitude practice or some reflection on your day can help you wind down.
So bookending the day with those mindful moments.
Exactly. And don't try to do too much at once. Start small, add new rituals gradually.
One step at a time.
Consistency is key.
Makes sense. Now, I want to go back to this nature connection for a minute. Forest bathing sounds amazing, but what about those of us stuck in the concrete jumble?
Even in cities, there are pockets of nature you can find. Parks, gardens, even just a tree-lined street.
Okay, so looking for those little bits of nature wherever we can.
Exactly. Make an effort to spend time in those spaces. It makes a difference.
I'll try that. But what about lifelong learning? We all get busy, lose motivation sometimes. How do we keep that spark alive?
Tap into your curiosity. What are you interested in? Read books, take classes, talk to people who know more than you.
So always be learning, basically.
Yeah, but make it enjoyable. Don't turn it into a chore.
That's a good point. Learning should be fun. But how about finding other people to learn with? We talked about community. How do we build that?
Connect with your loved ones. Make time for them. Express your appreciation. Be there for them.
So nurturing those relationships, showing up for each other.
And look for groups, organizations that align with your interests. Volunteer, join a club, go to events.
Get out there, meet new people.
Exactly. You never know who you'll connect with.
Okay, I'm getting inspired. But I want to revisit this idea of impermanence. Mono no aware.
It's a deep one.
It is, and honestly, it can be a bit scary. How do we deal with that, especially when life throws those really hard punches?
It takes mindfulness and a lot of acceptance. Change is going to happen. We can't fight it.
So trying to control everything is just going to make us miserable.
Pretty much. Let go of that need for control.
Easier said than done, but I see your point. What about when we're dealing with grief, loss, those really tough emotions?
Let yourself feel them. Don't try to push them away. Talk to someone, a friend, a therapist.
Okay.
Remember, healing takes time. Be gentle with yourself.
That's important. It's okay to not be okay all the time.
Exactly. And through it all, remember that life goes on. Even in the midst of pain, there's still beauty, still things to be grateful for.
Wow, that's powerful. Any last words of wisdom for our listener before we move on?
Remember, finding your Ikigai is a journey. It's not a destination, it's a process.
A process, yeah.
Enjoy the journey, trust your intuition, and keep exploring.
I love that. Embrace the exploration. Okay, in part 3, we're going to meet some real-life people who have found their Ikigai. So stick with us, listener. It's about to get really inspiring. Okay, so we've explored the ideas, the practices, all that good stuff.
Yeah, the philosophy behind Ikigai.
But now I want to see it in action. Real-life examples, people actually living this way.
That's what I've got lined up. Stories that really bring Ikigai to life.
All right, I'm ready. Hit me with your best examples.
Let's start with Jiro Ono. You might not know the name, but he's this incredible sushi chef. In his 90s, still running a Michelin-starred restaurant in Tokyo.
90 years old and a Michelin star. That's dedication. I'm guessing sushi's more than just a job for this guy.
Oh, yeah. For Jiro, sushi is an art form, a lifelong passion.
Wow.
It's his reason to get up every day, to keep perfecting his craft.
So he's found that place where work doesn't feel like work.
Exactly. It's an expression of his Ikigai.
And the Michelin star proves he's pretty darn good at it.
The best. It shows that age is no limit when it comes to Ikigai.
That's pretty inspiring. Living your purpose with that kind of passion, even in your 90s.
Amazing, right?
Okay, I need more. Who else have you got?
Let's switch gears from sushi to music. Ever heard of Domingo Perez?
I don't think so.
He's a musician from Spain, also in his 90s.
Okay.
And every week, he still plays saxophone in his village band.
Still rocking out at 90. What keeps him going?
For Domingo, it's all about the joy of music, the connection, the creativity. It's not about fame or money. It's about making music with his friends, sharing that with his community.
It's like Ikigai doesn't have to be this big, complicated thing.
Right.
It can be found in those simple pleasures, the things that connect us.
Exactly. And playing in his band keeps Domingo active, both mentally and physically.
I bet. Plus, all those social connections, that's got to be good for him.
Definitely part of the picture.
These stories are amazing. The sushi chef, the musician, all finding their own Ikigai in such different ways.
It shows there's no one right way to do it. It's all about finding what works for you.
Yeah, what resonates with your soul.
Exactly. Don't compare yourself to others. Embrace your own passions, talents.
Right, your own unique Ikigai.
And trust that your path will unfold.
It's like a journey, a process of discovery.
It is. And it's never too late to start.
Okay, so for our listener out there, what's the first step? How do they begin this Ikigai journey?
Ask yourself those key questions. What excites you? What are you good at? What does the world need? What could you get paid for?
Okay, those 4 things.
And see where the answers overlap. That's where the magic happens.
Like a treasure hunt looking for clues.
In a way, it is. And the treasure is a life filled with purpose and joy.
Well said. It's been an incredible deep dive, exploring all these fascinating facets of Ikigai.
It's a rich philosophy.
It is. So to our listener, we hope you've been inspired.
Yeah, take these ideas, see how they resonate with you.
Explore, experiment, find what brings you joy.
That's the key.
Because that's what Ikigai is all about. Finding that spark, that reason to get up each morning and say, yeah, this is a life worth living.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
And on that note, we'll wrap things up. Until next time, keep searching, keep exploring, and keep living your Ikigai.